Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of ASUG East President's virtual event. I'm David Wascom. I'm the Senior Vice President of Executive Programs here at ASUG, and let me be the first to welcome you to our event today. ASUG Express, how Global GIS Leader ESRI is transforming their business with SAP on Microsoft Azure. Big title, but frankly, a really great message here for us to be able to learn about cloud deployment of S4HANA, taking advantage of the services through Microsoft, taking advantage of some services through partners to make ESRI very successful as they move forward on their S4 journey. I'd like to thank Microsoft for hosting our event today. Wouldn't be possible without the good folks over at Microsoft, not only from a platform deployment standpoint for ESRI, but also to help sponsor the event itself. So thank you very much to Microsoft for that. I want to spend just a few moments going through the platform that we're using today. We're presenting this through a platform called On24. There are some tools available to you as an attendee that I want to make you aware of that will help you better enjoy and better take advantage of the experience today. They're expressed all through widgets that should be at the bottom of your screen. I'm going to build out the animation on this slide, but basically this gives you access to everything from a link to asug.com, where you can see additional content on other studies that we support with ASUG, information about the speakers. I do want to point out the Q&A. This is live for this event. This is designed to be interactive. If you have questions from the audience, please type those in the Q&A. Those will come to me, and I'll make sure as the moderator they are included in our conversation. You hear people say there's no such thing as a dumb question. I will say the only dumb question is the one not asked. So please, this is an opportunity to understand. John and Syed, who we'll be introducing here in a minute, are part of the execution team for this project. This is a golden opportunity to be able to learn from people that are actively involved in executing an S4 adoption process. Building up the slide again, some of these, you can feel free to play around with the icons here. There's nothing you can really break. I do want to stop a moment on the post-event survey. At the end of this event, you'll be prompted to fill out a survey. You'll also receive an email shortly after this event asking for your feedback. This feedback is critical to us here at ASUG, so please take a few moments of your time to respond to that post-event survey. This helps us understand if we met your needs today, if we met your expectations, and how can we help moving forward in terms of building content, building engagements for future events that are going to meet your needs and the challenges that you face in your SAP world. Questions? Also, if you have any technical issues that you're experiencing throughout the event, just enter those in the Q&A as well. I've got somebody from our technical team that's also monitoring that. They'll be able to help you, if it's troubleshooting audio, video, web browser issues. We're here to make this experience as seamless as possible. This is about being able to participate in this conversation with the folks we have on the panel today. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our panelists. First, we've got John Austria. John is the IT Applications Manager for S4HANA program over at ESRI. Next, we've got Syed Khan, who's the System Support Manager also at ESRI. Thanks, guys, for being here this morning. Last, certainly not least, we've got Alan Bannon, who is the CEO of Vnomic, who's been a key partner in this journey for ESRI. And of course, me. So I want to start. Let's jump right into this, right? So I'm going to start with the first question to Syed and John. So I'm going to suspect that like me, before I got a chance to meet y'all in preparation for this, a lot of companies probably haven't heard of ESRI. And I will share just a quick story on that. I same boat, right? I did a little work online. And what I found is now that I know who you are, I see your name pop up all the time. It's really impressive to me how prolific your company is now that I know to look for it. But if you would, Syed, maybe, why don't you tell us a little bit about ESRI, what your company is and does?
Hey, everyone. So ESRI, or Environmental Systems Research Institute, we are the world's largest producers of GIS software. Our GIS software and applications combine mapping and data analytics to deliver location intelligence that help digitally transform organizations of all sizes. We are a privately held company. We have been in existence for the last 50 years. We have 350,000 plus user base, and we have offices all over the world. A more recent example, popular map that has shown up is regarding dealing with the pandemic. You might have seen the maps that are showing the cases on a day-to-day basis where they are happening on the John Hopkins map. So we are partnering with John Hopkins that's leveraging our rich technology to basically plan better for the pandemic. If there are any new sport areas of the virus, we know how to go there and basically show all the patterns. And even looking at supply management, whether it's the medications or the bed supplies or the ICU kit units. So that's just the one example of how powerful the location platform is.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. Now, obviously, the key of why we're here today is ESRI made the decision to move to S4HANA, specifically on the cloud. And so I'd kind of love to understand your motivation around that. So maybe we start with you on that. Kind of tell us how you came to that decision.
Okay. I think, David, that was for me, right? So,
yeah. Sorry.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. Well, first off, thanks for having us today. Thank you to Microsoft for hosting us. So, Esri's been a longtime customer of SAP. We implemented SAP way back in 1997, and we have a 23-year-old installation of SAP, and kind of like most customers, it's highly customized, and we just it's not really meeting our business needs anymore. We've added some additional capabilities over the year. We implemented revenue accounting, and we did some POCs around Fiori, and it just wasn't as performant and as scalable as we believe that we need to be to support our business. So so basically our journey started way back in May of 2018, and at that time the relationship between Esri and SAP from a product perspective was really blossoming. So HANA DB is a certified geodatabase, and then SAP is also working to embed our technology into their products. And in fact, Hasso Plattner flew into Redlands on his big 737 to meet with our founder, Jack Dangerman. And there was just a lot of good interactions between the companies. And Syed will remember this, but we had our big IT all hands meeting, and our founder was speaking, and he literally mentioned S4HANA 20 times in that meeting when he was speaking to us for over 10 minutes, and I was counting. And he was asking our CIO directly, why aren't we on S4HANA? And then my CEO glared over at me. Oh, not glared. He looked at me. And then, I smiled and, confident, but also nervous, right? And really from that point on, our S4HANA journey took off, really. And so kind of in a nutshell, it's, again, like a lot of companies are facing today is, we're on these older installations of ECC, and there's a lot of new functionality and automation available in S4, deploying S4 to the cloud, the scalability, and we just felt like it's 23 years, and our current system has done us well, right? We've really leveraged it, but it again, for us to scale it and grow at the rate that we needed to move to S4HANA, and also with the impending deadline from SAP of 2025 to move, that also played a part in our decision, is that we didn't want to wait, basically. So our journey started in 2018, and we're well on our way.
Fantastic. You made several good points. I want to bring out a couple of them. First off, having your senior leadership fully embrace the idea of technology supporting the business, right? It brings up the question that a lot of IT professionals struggle with. How is the business partnering with you in this process? How are you able to leverage that partnership?
The business is 100% aligned with this effort. So basically, at the senior most level, our CFO and our CIO are co-sponsors of this project. So I'm actually co-leading the project with the senior manager on the finance side as well, Rob Seifert. And honestly, and we'll talk about this later, we couldn't have done it without the business's support. So I think a lot of us have been involved in big IT projects where IT is the driver. And really, if you're going to do something like this scale, right, you absolutely need support and partnership from the business. So again, short answer is we have very, very strong partnership from the business with our effort.
Now, you touched on this a little bit. Are there any specific business outcomes that you're looking to accomplish by moving to S4? Maybe point out one or two.
Yeah, and absolutely. So we do see this as a as an S4HANA program, right? So there's a lot of different business outcomes we're trying to achieve around automating our orders, getting those orders fulfilled faster for our customers. Also, we're looking to we are re-engineering what we call our ESRI Advantage program. It's a credit-based program, customer enablement program. And it's a highly customized process that we've built in the system, but now we're doing that more standard within S4. Also from just from a platform perspective, deploying on the cloud, all the benefits you get around scalability, ability to ramp up, ramp down, and as part of this process, we also migrated 85 integrations to the MuleSoft platform. So and then again, moving forward, we took for this first phase, our main priority is of course getting on the platform. We're calling it the S4 Move program. This first phase, and the plan, and we're already doing our phase 2 planning is building out and re-engineering additional business processes, for example, purchasing, et cetera. And really leveraging the platform moving forward and helping our company scale. So.
Fantastic. So one of the things that is always of key interest to people that are considering S4 is building that business case, right? So how were you able, as ESRI, to document the business drivers around this move to S4?
Yeah, so one of the things I was going to recommend. So as I said, the ball really got rolling in May of 2018, and we had a very strong SAP account executive, Eric Meckelberg, who is a good friend as well, and he brought in the S4HANA digital transformation team, and they really did a great job in helping us understand the capabilities of S4, as part of the process, we met with all our different business stakeholders, talked through pain points, did some gap analysis, and they really helped us build that business case that we could present to the executives as to, the value of moving to S4HANA. So that would be one advice is I know it's always hard, and we struggled with the same thing prior to 2018, is coming up with that ROI for moving to S4, again, the partnership with SAP was really huge, and then we were lucky around having senior executives as well fully aligned with moving to S4. So it is, in full transparency, we struggled with the same things a lot of the folks on this call struggle with too, around finding that value. What is the true business value from a quantitative and a qualitative perspective of moving to S4. So that was our process, and thankfully the business case was strong for us, and we had the executive leadership support, and we're 6 weeks away from go live. So
fantastic, and we'll get to talk more about that obviously here in a few minutes, but let's talk a little bit about sort of your project, right? So what are the workloads, what are the solutions you're looking to adopt on the S4 process at this point? What are you moving to?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll take that one. So we run full suite ERP, right? So we have a FICO, as I mentioned, RAR, SD, MM, production planning, project systems. So we're going big bang next month. So we're moving all our workloads to S4 on Azure. So we had thoughts around maybe splitting this out, doing finance first, but it just we're doing a brownfield implementation, so system conversion. So yeah, it's we're again big bang, going all the way, and moving all our workloads to S4 on Azure. So
fantastic. And you touched on this a little bit. What's sort of your timeline? So everything happens in 6 weeks, or is there any kind of phased rollout, or?
Yeah, so it is again big bang. So we're in month 17 of our implementation, right? So we have phase 1, and that's getting all our modules deployed onto S4, on Azure, and the next phases will be around re-engineering different additional business processes, and this first one is focused on order to cash re-engineering, as well as our Advantage program, credit program, which is growing leaps and bounds for the company. So that's our current timeline. We're still working out the details of phase 2 scope, but main priority is getting us live and getting everything working on January 19th. So
Fantastic. So, great question from the audience. What's your user base right now? And as a follow-up, what's kind of your expected downtime when you make these cuts?
Yeah. So our user base is we have about 800 SAP users, primarily. I mean, now it's distributed with COVID, but primarily within our Redlands office. But yeah, one of the big things is the downtime, right? So we've we're expecting a 72-hour cutover from ECC to S4HANA. So we're purposely doing this over the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday. And we've been doing a lot of communication across the company as to the impact. We did a couple simulations already on our staging tier of the outage and the impacts on our customer portal, Salesforce, et cetera. So this is no small thing. So we're another thing that I've been lucky enough to have is a really strong enterprise change management team. It's supporting me. So we're communicating across the business, starting to communicate to our customers, our distributorships, our partners, and it's a big deal. Yeah, so it's going to be a 72-hour downtime. We've padded. We have about a 12-hour buffer, and the good thing is we've done this 8 times. So we've run the DMO tool 8 times, and a go live will be our 9th time. So we're feeling pretty darn good about where we're at and the time it's going to take. But we do have 12 hours in the buffer in case something comes up, because something always does come up when you're doing this in production. But yeah, again, the cutover is going to be a big deal, but we feel like we're ready. So.
Fantastic. Presumably you're scheduling it. Is there kind of good or bad times for you to do this? I mean, given the product you have, you probably don't have to have a weekend off.
Yeah, there's never a good time, to be honest with you. We have a product release that was going supposed to go the week before, and now it's going to go after, and it's always working through that right now, but we're not moving. Our day's not moving, but basically, it's an enterprise effort, and what we've been telling the companies, we only do this every 25 years. So bear with us. So
fantastic. Another good question from just to kind of get a feel for the scope of the conversion, right? What's the size of your ECC database, and what's the size of the resulting S4HANA database?
So pre S4, it's 2.2 terabytes. On the side, do you know what the compression is?
Yeah, I mean, pre S4 it was around 2.2 terabytes or so, and now we are dealing around 1.2 terabyte, close to terabyte.
Okay. Yeah, pretty good reduction. It's pretty good reduction.
Yeah.
So I want to question, when we talk about SAP workloads and moving to the cloud, right? Those are obviously mission critical workloads, right? And it wasn't very long ago, and I'm a former CIO, so I've definitely been on this side of the thing, where if I went to my stakeholder, I went to the owners of my company and said, hey, I've got an idea, I'm going to move our mission critical workloads to the cloud. Probably what would have moved first was me out the door looking for another job, right? So what's changed? What's made you comfortable? And I want to start, maybe John, if you can answer that, and I'm going to ask the same to you, Alan. I want to get a feel for what you're hearing from customers around that.
Yeah, so that's interesting, right? So it's also been a progression for ESRI as well, right? So moving our ERP data to the cloud, always a touchy subject, but one of the things to our advantage is, all our other applications are on the cloud. So our CRM, Salesforce, we have our employee data on SuccessFactors as well. We did a recent implementation of Aptus for our contracts as well, and so I think that really did grease the skids, right? So we are a privately held company, so of course our financial data is very sensitive, right? So but I do think honestly that having and then Office 365 as well. So where everything's basically on the cloud now. So I think having all our apps and data, most of all our data already on the cloud, did make that an easier decision for ESRI.
Fantastic. Now, Alan, if you can maybe add from the vendor's perspective, because you can see a little more customers than they know. So.
Sure, yeah, and the cloud has gone through a maturity phase to be able to handle SAP workloads, and we've been working with Microsoft team since 2015, and there were a lot of areas where there was a need to work on and make sure that the capabilities were in place in order for it to handle SAP workloads. But by end of 2017 and beginning of 2018, essentially all those technologies were available. Things like ANF or large HANA instances on Azure. And when it was combined with the capability and automation that Vnomic provide, we are able to take customers very quickly and deploy their SAP landscape on Azure. They're most mission critical. SAP is one of the customers that we have, as well as ESRI and others. And fundamentally, rather than talking about it, we just go ahead and deploy a full SAP workload landscape as a pilot for most of our customers. And we give them a chance to see how ready cloud is for themselves. And this is exactly what we did with ESRI, to give them a sense of the cloud readiness and for them to see how far these technologies have come. And with that, we see a lot of our customers feeling more and more comfortable. And actually, since the beginning of the pandemic, we see a huge shift where before pandemic, most of our customers wanted to deploy on-premise. After pandemic, most of our customers are deploying on the cloud. And that trend is continuing because people see how effective cloud is and how much more scalable it is. And they talk to each other like what we're doing now. And, and that result in more and more deployment on the cloud. And we think that trend will continue for foreseeable.
So back to maybe Syed this time. So obviously Azure is a fantastic cloud provider, but they're not the only cloud provider, right? So how were you able to make the decision to go to Microsoft?
Yeah, we went through a long evaluation process. Obviously, we are currently based on-prem, but then when we looked at public cloud platforms, we were looking for a cloud platform that is optimized for SAP workloads. We were looking in terms of what the security compliance requirements are. How do we meet those efficiently and effectively? And then we were looking for a platform that offers us deep integrations and insights into what's going on with the health of the environment, so that we have proactivity in terms of dealing with issues. And last but not the least, it was the partnership. We can talk through this more in depth, but the partnership with Microsoft was very important. When it stood out from the day one when we started evaluating the Azure as a platform, and the kind of investments that they did, along with the kind of resources that they gave us to basically sandbox the environment, get familiar with the technology. They invested in training. That itself was a huge factor, apart from the technology, which led to us picking Azure as the optimal cloud platform for SAP.
Fantastic. And you mentioned partnership there. That's obviously a key part of this. And when I think about it from a context of ASIC, that's what we're about, right? Is understanding the partnership, the community that we can form together. Were there any other players in that decision? Other than Microsoft and obviously your team, where maybe it was Vnomic or some other partners involved in this, helping you understand the challenges around cloud and maybe how Azure was the best solution for you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if I take a step back, in the last year or two, as an IT organization, my teams have been working hard in terms of digital transformation and using DevSecOps principles. Things like infrastructure as a code, looking at scalability, integrating security within how we deploy things, basically dealing with automation, right? That was the key here. So as when we were looking for a strong partner, not just from Microsoft, we got recommended actually by Microsoft to work with, to evaluate, and got introduced with Alan and team from Vnomic side. And what they did was they took our requirements and they packaged it together and they basically deployed our entire landscape. And when we did our evaluation early on, it was remarkable. All the SAP best practices, all the best practices that we needed from the IT perspective, they were all baked in, and pretty much it was a 4 to 5 hour deployment, which covered our entire set of machines. And that was mind-boggling because in one go, we were able to get what we needed. And the other thing is that I really want to highlight is the engineers that we were working with from the Microsoft side, from actually, we also use ANF from the storage side, and the engineers that Alan and team provided, they were all connected in the backend. And that was pretty unique because we deal with a lot of vendors, and that's often not the case. And they exactly knew what business problems we were trying to solve, what technology constraints we were running into. And all these engineers in the backend, they were working together to help us round the clock to get to the stage that we are at today.
Fantastic. So Alan, I want to direct some stuff. Obviously, Vnomic has been a key partner for ESRI, but I'd like to start, but if you could just maybe give us just a real quick idea of who is Vnomic, right? What do you do? How do you help these?
Sure. Vnomic is a SAP and Microsoft partner, and I used to work for SAP, and I would go to customers and I would try to convince them to deploy more modern SAP landscape. And pretty much everybody would say, look, it's really hard to deploy SAP landscapes and I have to do it manually. Where is the easy button, Alan? We need the easy button. So, I looked at the problem statement and it became clear that as we are moving to cloud, there is a real opportunity to take all of the SAP best practices and SAP notes, the tens of thousands of SAP notes, as well as thousands of pages of documentation about infrastructure like Azure, and really combine them into a platform, into a software platform that customers no longer have to worry about whether they're doing their SAP deployment correctly or they need to have a lot of manual processes that causes error. And that was the genesis of Vnomic. So Vnomic fundamentally is a software platform. It uses AI and modeling technology and the latest automation, and it has embedded in it all of the SAP nodes as well as Azure best practices. So as Syed said, we are able to just go to the software and say, these are the SAP solution that we want as a part of a landscape, and that could include S4, BW, Solution Manager, SRM, and a host of SAP solutions. And then the software automatically computes, what's the bill of material that's best serves, that deployment. It comes up with the cost for it. More importantly, it comes up with the perfect design based on SAP and Microsoft best practices. And last but not least, actually goes ahead and builds the entire landscape end to end with zero touch in a very consistent manner, including, high availability clustering, incorporating all the best practices like monitoring and so forth into the project, and deliver a complete landscape that's ready to go to customers in a very consistent manner across all the servers so they can be easily updated and upgraded down the road, plus provide full visibility into it. And essentially taking one of the typical tasks of any SAP deployment, which is building the technical landscape and eliminating, having the need to have, tens, if not hundreds of people working over months trying to do it, and bringing it all into a solution that you just push a button and everything gets done correctly and it's up and running. And that's fundamentally what Vnomic is. We work very closely with Microsoft engineering as well as SAP engineering. And we are a global company with offices in US, Europe, and Asia Pac, and we are serving most of our customers are global brand. They are the largest brands in the world, and we are able to support them for deployment around the world for all of their business critical SAP deployments.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Thanks for that explanation. That's a very powerful capability. Syed, could you maybe talk about kind of how that helped you in the process specifically around ESRI?
Oh yeah, it was huge. Alan and team and the software not only helped package the pieces together. One of the things that always gets you in cloud is, you could go and overspend. So Vnomic basically helped us optimize our deployments from the get-go, whether it's choosing the right instance types or even cutting down certain instances if you don't need them, in terms of how the storage needs to be optimized, what other services needs to be put together. And without Vnomic, I think we would have been struggling a little bit. The reason I say that is we weren't that familiar with Azure, to be really honest. And a lot of our engineers were familiar with other cloud providers because that's the experience that they had in IT, in IT at Esri rather. And with Vnomic coming in, it basically accelerated the deployment and also the adoption of the platform. And the key here was also the consistency of the environments, whether it's different settings and at different tiers. Those are the things that often gets you. And with this deployment that they did, it was all consistent throughout. And yeah, I'm very thankful that we were able to partner with Alan and team.
Fantastic. Alan, anything you want to add to that?
No, as Syed said, it is critical to deploy these. Many of our customers, they want to go to Azure, but they don't have the Azure knowledge because Azure is a brand new platform, or S4 is a brand new platform. With Vnomic, we eliminate the need for them to learn how to deploy on Azure and what's the best practices or what are the new things that they need to do for the S4, and essentially bridge that gap so they can move quickly to S4 and Azure and be successful with their business transformation and eliminate the risk that typically delay this project or causes significant delay in the time to value for the project. And we are grateful for the opportunity.
Right. Now, Syed, I do have to go back. You made one comment about overspend. I thought the cloud was free.
Well,
maybe not quite free, right? So obviously Microsoft is a key part of this, right? So maybe can you talk about where Microsoft plays in this? We've heard from Alan that obviously his team works very closely with the Microsoft engineers. How is that specifically applied with this ESRI adoption project? Syed, if you could maybe take that.
Oh yeah, of course. So from the time we were evaluating the product and the platform, the Microsoft engineers, we got access to the Microsoft engineering team who have dealt with SAP deployment in the past in the Azure platform. So together with Esri engineers, partnering with the Microsoft engineers, and just getting direct access to them, whether it's a random question that somebody would have, and we all use Teams, Microsoft Teams, so that was really helpful because we were all able to just chit chat, and any problem that we came through, whether it's middle of night, we would end up on a phone call, and that whole partnership was perfect. And also, there are some key decisions that helped us, right? Whether it was the choice of the region, how do we deploy express routes, and how do we pick up proximity placement groups. Not getting too technical here, but the point there is, just with all the knowledge that was there that Microsoft engineers provided, along with the experience that Vnomic had and their engineers in terms of the actual customer experience, that helped us basically transform our application and platform and helped us easily adopt Azure.
Fantastic, great answer. Thank you very much for that. So I want to start to dig into some of the technical parts and sort of the nuts and bolts of the actual implementation, right? So, John, you touched on this. Maybe you can unpack kind of what's the status of your implementation today. I mean, you're 6 weeks out. You're pretty relaxed. Yeah. So maybe
as you're saying, right? I hide it well, David. But status of the our implementation it's going well. So we're wrapping up our user acceptance testing. So we have a few defects that we do need to resolve by, we set a cutoff date of December 18th, and we're doing extensive cutover planning. Right now, we're going to have the cutover plans of all cutover plans, step by step, and also, as I mentioned, we're doing significant communication across the company about the downtime. And just kind of in a nutshell, we're feeling really good about going live on Tuesday, January 19th. So taking all the steps, we've done a lot of testing. Thousands of test cases, and we're ready to go.
Fantastic. Just as a curiosity question, what level, what version of S4 are you going to?
1809.
1809. Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah.
So obviously, you said the project started 17 months ago for you. Well, 9 or 10 months of that has been in some very unique circumstances. What I hope are unique circumstances.
Yeah.
How has remote work impacted your project?
Thankfully, it hasn't. I mean, I'll be honest, like everybody, when we, back in March, right, when this whole thing started up, we were real concerned, right? And I think one of the things to our advantage is that we had started the project in July of 2019. So we did already have our implementation partner, PwC, on site with us. So we did have that. We did have the advantage of building those relationships already. And as part of our kind of implementation model, we do have a significant offshore presence as well. So, just the gist of it is, we were able to continue to stay productive. And as you can see, we're 6 weeks away, and we haven't skipped a beat basically. And we've leveraged all the tools, collaboration tools that are available to us. You know, we heavily use Microsoft Teams. And then I know one of the things that we were concerned about was how are we going to run our design and build sprints, right, completely remote? Like, how are we going to do our system integration cycles completely remote? Like, I'm been doing this a long time, and typically when you're doing SIT, you're in a room, right, and together, and so those are the kind of things that we had to work through. And then luckily our partner PwC, they actually had clients that were a little bit ahead of us in the middle of implementations, and they had some maybe some aches and pains through that we were able to learn from and implement as part of our project. So but overall we've managed and been staying super productive, and we're about to go live. So no, it didn't impact us, thankfully.
That's good. Well, I do want to unpack kind of the mechanics of that, right? So let's maybe talk through the process and how did being remote affect that, right? So you think about I'll call it a traditional SAP implementation, right, where you go through the a standard waterfall project, and you've got your work, your design blueprint. How did that work, and what's your plan going forward? More importantly, how is this going to work?
Yes. So again, it's leveraging tools. So I mean, for example, for our SIT cycles, we had different breakouts for the different like verticals, right? Order to cash and our professional services, and it's all about really being organized, right? And so we had facilitators in the room, and it's really, you're remote, so the communication has to be even more on point, right? So so those are the kind of things that we implemented as part of our project to mitigate the fact that we couldn't be in the same room together. So again, leveraging tools and communicating, and just being very organized overall. So had a great implementation partner, and then going forward, our guidance from our leadership is that we're still gonna all be working remotely at least till June of next year. So we'll be going through go live. As mentioned, we'll be kicking off our phase 2 effort shortly after that. So it's just, again, this is the new normal. So I feel good. We're all able to stay productive, and we're making phenomenal progress. So I don't see the new normal. I don't really see any concerns moving forward from a remote work perspective.
That's great to hear. So let's talk about some of the technical components of the implementation, right? So when you look at the workloads that you're bringing, what are some of the technical considerations? Because not only do you have to deal with the change from an ECC platform to our S4, but now you've got to deal with on-prem to cloud as well. So maybe you and Syed can maybe give some insight on that.
Yeah, I can talk just a few bullets, maybe hand off to Syed. But some of the things that are on our mind, of course, is connectivity to on-prem systems like our OpenText archiving. Working through firewall issues. Also, one of the things that we worked through was performance, right? So managing access, SAP GUI access via VPN to the Azure resources, and just latency, making sure things are performant. So those are really the things that we address or are continuing to address as part of deploying S4 on the cloud. So I don't know if Syed has anything additional from his perspective, but.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to what John just mentioned, I mean, we do have a spider web of applications that need to connect to a critical platform like SAP. And so we have applications in other cloud providers on-prem, and we just have to figure out a way where we can efficiently manage all the connectivity. So that was pretty important. How do we lay out those express routes? And then the region of choices, in terms of how the whole DR would work, And also, I mean, what was most important was definitely performance. I mean, it was important for us to figure out how the SAP application would work well once the data is there and once the load is there. And one of the things that the engineers have helped us is pin our compute and storage together so that they are in close proximity together so that we can attain the sub-milliseconds of response times. So yeah, these were some of the things that we considered.
Right. Now Syed, you touched on something that's generally a critical issue for implementations, especially when you bring the cloud into play, and that's around integration. So what are some challenges you've been facing around integration?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the proximity of where each of these integration points are. We have to basically pick an optimal path so that not only that, we also have to have redundancy, right? So some of these critical integrations are important to the rest of the business. So for us, it was about making sure that we have proper redundant circuits, also ensuring that for the front end integrations that are coming in directly from the web, we have the proper load balancing set up. We were even exploring having CDN and some of the content that if it had to be served and things like that. So it was mostly about picking the optimal path and making sure security is not compromised. That was another important area that we focused on because we sort of compartmentalized segmentation. And depending on the criticality of the data set, we use micro-segmentation. And it's so easy to do that in Azure, not really have to think twice.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. So we talked about Vnomic and the role they've played, obviously, in the model that Alan described to be able to effectively pre-build an SAP environment and use that easy button, right, to deploy that to the cloud. That's awesome, but that's not the only part, right? So what about from like a data management, some other tools? Are there any other automation tools you use to help that process? I don't know, Syed, John, whoever wants to take that one.
I'm sorry, David. What do you mean by data management tool?
Any other automation tools, like maybe a data migration tool or any sort of business process tools or anything along those lines?
Yeah, so more around standard tooling, right? So we use the DMO data migration option tool to convert from ECC to S4, right? And then doing the migration from on-prem to Azure. So yeah, mostly standard SAP tools.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. So an interesting question from the audience, and this is one that's near and dear to my heart as a remote worker who has an office in Chicago that he's not seen in the last 9 months. Given kind of the world that you've been put in with COVID and how you've been doing this, right? Obviously the project's been moving along. Do you see this making any kind of long-term impact on how ESRI treats work from home? Is there going to be a time here?
Maybe I'll take that, and then Syed can give his opinion. But as we talked about before the webcast, we are all hoping that it has a permanent change to perceptions on working from home. So, in fact, our department did a survey, and I think over 80% wanted to continue with mostly working from home. So I think, speaking frankly, prior to the pandemic, there wasn't a lot of support for our regular work from home schedule, I would say. So I think all inclinations are this. A permutation of this is probably going to be permanent moving forward. So and that's what I'm hoping. And selfishly, I live 45 miles from the office, so I'm loving not having to drive in. So I don't think I can go back to commuting every day and sitting in traffic. So that's my perspective, and hopefully our leadership sees that as well. So I don't know how Syed feels about it, if he likes to be in the office. But I'm just saying now, Syed. But yeah, I don't know. We'll let him talk to that. So.
No, I think largely the experience has been positive. In fact, when we did that survey, and we all talk, right, within our teams, and employee production has actually increased. We are doing more work. In fact, we are having a hard time disconnecting from work. So like John said, the survey was overwhelming in terms of in favor of working from home. Yeah, some preferred to go back to work on maybe a day or two a week. But majority felt that they should be remote, at least in our division. So it's been great. It's been effective. We haven't missed a beat. We have been, in fact, we were looking at the year past of all our goals that we had, and we were able to attain all of them. In fact, we exceeded it in some.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. So we come to what I like to call kind of the, what can I tell people that are not as far along the path section of the conversation here, right? So for John and Syed both, I want you, if you can, give us some specific challenges that have come up during your implementation, and how have you addressed them? So let's start with you,
Yeah.
John.
Yeah, sure. So I can talk from more, S4 functional perspective. So yeah, one of the things that we saw was, moving from, for example, the BSEG line item table to the AC.K Universal Journal, right? So there's an example of this. So we added custom fields way back in the late 90s to BSEG, and we didn't do it in a standard way. So that impacted our conversion, right? It was our first few runs, and then we did have to take a production downtime to do that, to make that adjustment to the table, right? And then there's things that when you've been a customer like us for so long, there's things that are kind of skeletons in the closet that are going to come up, right, around what you did in the past that you're going to need to have strong partners to help you resolve, right? So we had, partnership from the S4HANA customer care team, PwC, right? And then, there was, again, a big project, a lot of things that came up along the way, risks and issues that we had to mitigate. So those are the things, and concerns. Talk about concerns. Delivery, right? So I've been on a lot of big projects that have, not leading them, but have run off the rails, or but you do something like this, you're really, when we were going into it, really afraid of. You hear those horror stories about the budget like doubling or tripling or something like that, and scope creep. So those were the things. Again, we had good partnership from the business and with our implementation partner, and we really managed that really, really well. So we're on track, we're on schedule, believe it or not. And those are the things, at least for me, from a delivery perspective, that were concerns that we've been able to mitigate.
Fantastic. Syed, you want to add to that?
No, I think John covered it pretty well. From the other infrastructure technology perspective, it was, making. We had our challenges early on with meeting the performance requirements, but then we had such a good engineering team on-prem that helped us make better informed decisions. And of course, with all the input from Microsoft and Vnomic, we were able to nail down the configuration that works for us. So there was a lot of back-end testing. I can't say enough how much testing we had to do early on to make sure our performance criteria are met. And then, we also had to go back and forth a few times to make sure express route is adequately sized, because we were trying to cut down downtime, and from on-prem to Azure, we had to make sure that at least DMO is working optimally and quicker as needed. As far as other challenges, we had to make sure our HA, right, high availability, is working as desired, and we use Pacemaker. We partnered with Red Hat and use Pacemaker to build HA, and we also are in the process, or will be in the process of building DR. So, getting that configuration right, making sure it's working optimally for applications that are hitting the Pacemaker cluster, and then things are, failing over transparently and things like that. Nailing that kind of a configuration always had its challenges, and we continue to work on that, optimizing our platform till the go live.
Fantastic. Thanks for that. So, biggest surprise. Let's jump back to you, John. So, if there, a big surprise, either good or bad, right?
Yeah.
We see some of both.
Right. So I guess from my perspective, biggest surprise in a good way was just the continued engagement from the business, right? So this is 18-month effort, and even before that, like with all our pre-work and we've just sometimes when you're on these big projects, it's hard to keep people engaged and really dialed into what you're trying to do. And I can honestly say that our business colleagues in the company has been 100% aligned with this goal of getting ESRI migrated to S4, and again, very positive surprise, and it's gonna be fundamental and foundational to our success in just 6 weeks. So
Fantastic. Sayed?
I mean, for me, it was more about having the staff who could work in this environment. As I said earlier, they had to learn a lot, and Microsoft helped, right, with all the training that they provided. And I remember when we were all working still on-prem, we had a huge training class for maybe close to 20 people. It was all funded by Microsoft for Azure fundamentals. But that was the biggest win, is to build a support system that could manage the infrastructure and support SAP basis team to make sure the environment is all tuned and humming along as we want.
Hey, David, I wanted to add one more thing, if you'd allow me to. Yes, so I think one of the ways that we made, it's probably interesting to the audience, is one of the ways that we made this more cost effective was, I mentioned earlier, was we did leverage quite a number of offshore resources as well. So I think going into the project, I was a little bit leery about doing such a large project with such a, I guess, a heavy offshore presence. So again, testament to our partners at PwC that we had very skilled resources, and it actually worked to our advantage, where we essentially have a staff that's working 24/7, with the 12-hour time difference with India. So I think that's also something that's something for all the other ASA customers that are looking to move to S4, is that's something you should definitely explore as well. That's the new model, right? Is a larger offshore presence. But for me, that was also a very nice surprise, and we were able to do this in a at least from an Azure perspective, a cost-effective manner. So.
Fantastic. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I also wanted to say one more thing, that with regards to cost optimization for your infrastructure, one of the key for us is constantly looking at what was deployed and what we are actually using. So all during our SIT testing and all of that, we are constantly looking at ways to reduce cost, and whether it's turning off the non-production services, or whether it's downsizing in some cases, because when we go into a deployment like this, there are a lot of unknowns, and we tend to sometimes over-provision for safety reasons. But it's about that constant looking at your environment and keep tweaking environment so that it's sized optimally, so that it will help reduce your cost. And Microsoft, along with NetApp have been instrumental for us, because we are using compute and storage from those specific areas.
Fantastic. So last question I've got, I wanted just a quick reminder, we've got a number of great questions from the audience, and don't want you to miss the opportunity here in the next 8 minutes to ask anything you have lingering. But I want to go around the virtual room here and ask all three of you. And I'm going to start with you, Alan. Think about this from this conversation today from the point of the attendees, right? If there was one thing, if there was one key takeaway you wanted them to take, what would it be?
I think the key takeaway is that, Azure as a platform for SAP is ready. And, Vnomic has all the capabilities to deploy their entire landscape correctly on their Azure platform within a few hours, and eliminate the risk of how do you deploy these landscape correctly on Azure. As you can see with ESRI, as well as a number of other customers that we have, and we are leveraging the cloud technologies where we are able to do this globally and through cloud. So we eliminate all the needs for having physical presence or anything. And I think that's the path forward, and that's how all these projects are going to be done. And this pandemic just accelerated it, and we're going to see the S4HANA deployment on Azure becoming more mainstream and more of a virtual deployment, as we've seen with Azure.
Right, fantastic. So yeah, let me ask the same question to you. Kind of, what's that one key takeaway?
For one key takeaway for us was not to get too overwhelmed by what we are trying to do here. So yeah, thinking about it in incremental bits and going about achieving your goal. The key here was early on when we tested a lot of this, basically hand-built systems initially, just to get the feel of it. And once you got comfortable with the tech and what you need to do, then the task was made easy. And kudos to John and team, actually, they were able to put a nice package together in terms of what needs to be delivered so that we didn't have that scope creep, as we call it. So,
John?
Yeah, I'm happy to answer this one. Partnerships matter. So basically, as we talked about earlier, partnership from the business, you have to have alignment at the executive level. I have a fantastic partner on the business side that's helping me lead this project on the finance side. Also, our implementation partner, right? You have to pick the right implementation partner, and we have a great one in PwC. And honestly, I know they're looking out for us, and they're going to make sure that we're successful in 6 weeks. And at the end of the day, you have to trust your implementation partner, and I can honestly say that we do here at ESRI. So, and then also similarly, as you're talking about partnership with Alan's team at Vnomic, with Microsoft. We have an amazing partnership as well with SAP, and then we're also part of the S4HANA customer care program, which has had helped us quite a bit through this journey, resolving our different issues. So really, you got to really think about that and make sure you have strong partners across the board, because this isn't lip service. It really matters, and you're going to hit some really tough problems as you go through this journey. And you have to make sure that you have the right experienced partners that you can trust to help you get past those road bumps to make sure that you're successful. So definitely make sure you're picking the right partners and you have everybody aligned. And I want to give props to my buddy Syed as well, right, on the infrastructure side. Like he's a good friend, and I know he has my back as well from a infrastructure perspective. So internally, you just have to have all the relationships and at the end of the day, trust, and just you need people that you can rely on. And I can honestly say that between our partners and our internal team, I have a fantastic team as well, comprised of folks from across the business that, again, I hate to say it, but I feel like it's the unicorn of projects, right? Like we have everything has gone very well, and everybody's so aligned, and for us, it's sky's the limit. So hopefully everybody else on the call can kind of experience the same thing as we are here at ESRI, and we'll have even more things to say after our successful go live in 6 weeks. So
fantastic. Hey guys, this has been a great conversation. This has been a lot of fun as well. Appreciate your time today. John and Syed, I'm going to ask here sometime post go live. I want to bring y'all back and maybe kind of continue this conversation, and Alan maybe do the same, because I think there's a great story here, and I think that I'd love to see how this turns out. And so I'm going to ask, we got, like I said, we got a couple minutes here, so maybe one last question from the audience, but a couple of challenges for us as we move forward, right? It's, as we continue to work from home, we continue to let's continue to be safe. Let's enjoy the holidays. As we go back and we leave the event today, please complete that post-event survey, whether you do that by clicking on the link at the end, or if you answer the email that goes out afterwards. Again, that feedback is critical to our success and critical to our ability to deliver programming that means the most to you as members of ASUG. Look forward to seeing you at future events, both virtually and in person. And with that, we're going to go ahead and wrap for the day, guys. Again, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you to Microsoft for sponsoring, and thank you certainly to the attendees for today for making this fun. We'll see you again soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, David. Thank you, John.
Thank you.